and I got laid off right before the pandemic happened. I was behind the scenes. I did, operations and technical stuff. I'd lived here for 10 years. I was a city guy, never really left the city. And I was like, okay, I'll try the trail. So I went out and I started to hike and was like, this is pretty fun, and just kind of fell in love with it right away. My name is Fat Man Little Trail on social media, and that came from hiking. Like my second day, people ask me all the time, like, what's the secret? I'm like, authenticity. Like, don't go and try to chase trends or be viral or do a dance or do what. If that's not you, don't do it. Like, do what's you, and if it works, it works. And if not, like, it's hard to fake it. Like, and the internet knows, like, they know if you're faking it, and. Well, as I tell everyone, I'm a super famous internet celebrity, and then my family just turns around and is like, yeah, but I remember when you used to pick your nose or whatever, and they like, no one will keep you in check quicker than people that have known you your whole life, So I was hanging out with a bunch of family the other day, and I was trying to tell them what I was doing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I had this video go viral the other day, and they're like, they could care less, except like the nephews, they loved it because they're like, oh, you're like a celebrity. I'm like, no, I'm not, I've never been happier than I have been in like the last 4 years because I started hiking. So the more people that I can convince that that's a good thing, then that's going to keep everyone happy.
All right, let's do top 5. What are the top 5 biggest mistakes people do when they're hiking on the trail? Greg Sakowicz, we're going to get into outdoor hiking and all kinds of activities, and a lot of good knowledge he has here, but he's really got an interesting origin story and how you built up your social media and your whole attitude about it. That's what I love, and how you talk about your family and when they're around, and just I want to find out how you became so successful with this. So let's go back to the beginning, though. I want to know where you're from. I know where you're at today. You're in Colorado, but where did you grow up? And tell us a little about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a Midwest kid. I was born in Michigan, grew up in Chicago, and then went to college in Nashville, and then took a job in Indiana. So I kind of traveled through the Midwest, and played sports and did all the normal fun kid things, and yeah, it was great.
So, how did you how does this story begin with social media and the outdoors and all that? Is an exciting incident that happened where you said, was there a midlife crisis, or like what? How did this grow?
It was a bit of a midlife crisis. I worked in television news for like 20 years, and I got laid off right before the pandemic happened. I was behind the scenes. I did operations and technical stuff. And I got laid off, and I was like, I'm going to start a new career. This is going to be great. Then the pandemic hits, and I'm like, well, there's no jobs going to be out there now. And I'm like, I know media, but everybody wants the new media. So I might as well kind of, learn how to do a website and social media and stuff like that. And I live downtown Denver, so it's great when everything's open. I can walk to the ballpark, I can walk to the restaurants and do all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, everything shut down because of the pandemic. The only thing that was open in Colorado were the trails. And I'm like, I'd lived here for 10 years. I was a city guy, never really left the city. And I was like, okay, I'll try the trails. So I went out and I started to hike and was like, this is pretty fun, and just kind of fell in love with it right away. My name is Fat Man Little Trail on social media. And that came from hiking. Like my second day, I was out there hiking, and these little kids, I'm on this like little hill right now that I laugh about it, but it was my second time. So I was like dying. I'm sitting on a log. I'm about to pass out. And these little kids come running by me, and they're like wearing Crocs and drinking Capri Suns. And I'm like, how is this happening? And I just think to myself, I'm like, man, I'm just a fat man on this little trail. And then I immediately went home, and I reached out to my cousin, who's a huge supporter of mine. And I was like, hey, is Fat Man Little Trail a good name for social media? She goes, yes. And I said, all right, I'm going to start it. So that day I started the website and social medias of Fat Man Little Trail, and decided to learn how to do it all on my own.
Okay. So you get a website, you're going to like get serious about this thing. You get the website first. Some people will say, I'm just going to get the Instagram page and see what happens from there. But you said, no, I'm going to get I'm going to build a website. Did you know what you're going to put on the website? And did you know what you're going to post about? How does that look?
Really, like that day was when it all kind of came into fruition, when I had I had the name, and that was all I knew that was going to happen. And it's taken a bunch of different turns. I love to write. I've always loved to write. So it's kind of like an outlet for me. So I was like, the website started it because I could write. for the first 2 years, I never even posted my face on social media. I just posted nature pictures, and I was like, I'm just going to write about nature and stuff like that. And then I wrote a blog. Oh,
How well did it do in the beginning? Like, what was your first
oh,
post, and what did
terrible.
that look like? And how? Tell us about the journey, because you have like what almost 150,000
Yeah.
followers on Instagram, and I want to know about the other channels too. But I mean, how does this grow? I mean, I know why you're successful because you're funny and you're also self-deprecating, and that's perfect. But
At
then
least
how?
somebody knows. I haven't figured it out
I'm
yet.
telling you, that's why I don't perfect this algorithm, but I know how this works. And I know that, you just look at this guy and you're like, I like this guy. His lack of pretense, his no pretension, and you just have a good time and you're honest. But how did that go from that point where like, I'm going to, what does that journey look like when you're building the site, and what's the traction look like? What's that journey look like?
That was terrible. It was awful. Like it started with nothing. It started with, like everybody else, I'd post and I'd get like 10 views on a web page, and I was like, this is so great, and then I could like literally track them back to like, okay, my mom read that, and my brother read it, my cousins read it. Like I knew who the 10 people were. But I just, like I said, I love to do it. So, and it gave me, I was unemployed at the time. It gave me something to do, and it gave me motivation to get up, go out and hike, and then come back and write the story about the hike that I just did. I did a blog called Screw It, I'm Trying, which became kind of my motto, which was it was like what are those?
Great
It's like the
names.
well, it's like the 7 stages of grief, but I did it for hiking as an overweight person. So like at one point, like bargaining is like, dear Jesus, Buddha, Keebler elves that live in the trees, whoever is in charge of the inclines on this trail, please make them stop. I will do anything. I'll eat, no more fudge stripes forever. But like I just tied it all into that. Just a humorous look at like, I just started hiking. I was a new hiker, so it was just my experience through that. That blog took off a little bit. But like I said, my social medias were still just nature pictures. I never really did the personality until about a year ago. So I've been doing this since 2020, so 4 years. And for the first 2 years, I just really didn't do much with it, but it was just a hobby and it was just something that I loved to do. So I just kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. I had like 5,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh,
But Reels is where it happened. I started Reels, and basically I had some friends who did them, and they start like we all had 5,000 followers. They started Reels and took off, and I was like, well, I can do that too. So I just did it and decided to show my personality a little bit more than just nature. So
well, when was that? When did you start the reels? And what was your first couple of posts? And what was the one that really hit traction? It was like, ooh, here we go. I get it.
it was about a year. I'd say it was probably about a year and a half ago. I've done like basically a reel every single day for probably a year and a half, which is pretty insane. But the one that I think kind of took off first was, and I have to think back, but the one that kind of it didn't go viral, but it like did enough to make me think it would work. And it was me saying something to the effect of, guys, I finally figured out the key to being great on social media. And what it is you have to be very attractive.
That's
So
the
if
one
you
that's the one that's
yeah.
pinned on your friend. That is perfect. That is great. Yeah. Tell us about
Well,
that. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just like walking and I'm like, my reels were doing okay. They're getting like 1,000 views or whatever. But I was like, wow, all these really attractive people get a ton of views. So I'm just going to play off that. And I'm like, and if you're not as attractive as the fat man, you got no chance. And, I'm just tongue in cheek the whole time. And that's the one that kind of took off. And I was like, okay, I can be funny on this. I don't have to try to be like, people are doing the algorithm stuff and editing and all that. And I don't know how many reels everybody out there does, but if you spend like 4 hours editing it, it gets 12 views. You're just like, oh, that was ridiculous. So I'm like, I can just be funny when I talk. So I'm just going to go out there on my hikes and whatever pops in my head. I hike alone a lot. So I get all these things that go through my head and I'm like, well, I'll just record it. And luckily, a lot of them have done pretty well lately.
You know, I think that is the secret sauce, and that's the algorithm, and that's when you're a stand-up comedian, you're trying to find the truth, the real you, the essence of you that's at the party, that you're like, I was on fire, at the
Yeah.
party, to bring that out on command and be yourself. And that's what you're starting to do every post. I see that
Yeah.
now. It's like
Well,
yeah.
yeah, people ask me all the time, like, what's the secret? I'm like, authenticity. Like, don't go and try to chase trends or be viral or do a dance or do what, if that's not you, don't do it, like do what's you. And if it works, it works. And if not, like it's hard to fake it. Like, and the internet knows, like they know if you're faking it, you know. And I think just being authentic and just kind of telling my story as an overweight middle-aged guy who tries to hike, like people relate to that, you know. So I think that that helps too. So it just allows me to be authentic.
Now, you start to take off here. Like, what is that? You go from a year and a half ago, 5,000 followers, and then you start doing the reels, and then it's skyrocketed. I mean, tell us through, some milestones, like, what you started doing and how that's grown, and what does that look like?
Yeah, it was just like I said, I just kept doing it every single day. I was posting every day, telling a different joke. And I have a day job. So I only hike on the weekends. So I usually shoot like, 5 to 10 of these, every Saturday and Sunday when I go out. And it's just kind of what's going through my head. And I had some like, you know, good ones where I compared hiking to running a half marathon. I'm like, these people are, crazy. They do 13 miles. Oh, me? Oh, well, I'm going to go hike for 17 miles and I'm going to go uphill for 8,000 feet, and like the comparison between, how crazy hikers are versus how crazy half marathoners are. And people loved it because it was, I think that was my first one that got over 1 million views and started to get a lot of followers. And then, I told randoms, like, I'm like, what do I think about when I'm hiking? All tacos, and like just little stuff like that. So some of them are in depth. Some of them are just literally what I'm thinking when I'm walking. And they've gone, I have some that don't get many views, and now pretty much everything, get 30,000 views or something like that. So it's been a wild ride. It's been fun.
Right. I mean, are you at the point where you like got sponsors to, like, what does that look like for you?
I'm working on it. It's still a hobby and fun for me. So like I keep forgetting to like ask for money. I am like one of the things, again, I'm just having fun with it, but like, Osprey asked me to model their extended fit backpack. So I like tell people I'm a model now, and people crack up and they look at me and they're like, you? And I'm like, oh, seriously, I'm on their webpage, type of thing. So like cool stuff like that has happened. And I'm working towards, sponsorships and stuff because I'd love to be able to do it more often, but we'll get there.
I'll tell you right now, Bolator is just not a podcast. Bolator is, 2 weeks ago launched. We're a backpack company. We created a backpack that it's a cooler. It's a soft cooler that attaches to our Bolo tarp, which is a tarp that opens up to a hammock that's also a sidewall to a pop-up tent, and it's a gear organizer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a soft cooler. You could put your drinks in it. You could put your brisket in it. And they detach from each other. And we're coming out with a tactical backpack and a day pack and a duffel, and they all connect to each other.
Nice.
So you would be the perfect. This is who we want to represent, an everyman kind of person. Somebody that's real, somebody that knows how to have a good time, somebody that doesn't take themselves too seriously, because that's part of our brand. We're gonna, in the post game, you're gonna see, we're gonna, and this is a high end product too. We're gonna set you up, and we're gonna be you're not gonna. We're just starting, so we won't pay you a lot, but you know what? We're gonna be a paying advertiser with you. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right,
I should go on more podcasts, I think.
Hey man, I'm
Well,
telling you, you got something here, and I see it growing just bigger and bigger.
Well, you said something too that I really like is you said you wanted every man out there. And like I think that's what has helped me more than anything is the way the outdoors have changed recently. Like up until 2020, it was almost like super athletes that are out there climbing mountains, doing stuff. And then like pandemic, everybody started going out. And it's pulled back quite a bit where people who went out for a couple of years aren't coming out as much, but more and more people like me that are overweight, a little bit bigger, we started getting out. And that's what I love about it. And that's kind of the mission that I have is to try to get the person from their couch out onto the trails. And just, like you don't have to be a star. You don't have to be in the Olympics to go up on a trail. You can just be anybody and go out and enjoy it. So I love the fact that you guys are looking for that with your, backpack as well.
Heck yeah. Now the family. Let's talk about your family, because I love this post. Yeah. You're sitting there, and it's like, you know what? Greg's done something that is really interesting here, and they're like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Tell us about the relationship once you start like hitting, your stride, and what was their reaction?
Well, as I tell everyone, I'm a super famous internet celebrity, and then my family just turns around and is like, "Yeah, but I remember when you used to pick your nose or whatever," And they like no one will keep you in check quicker than people that have known you your whole life, So we had I was hanging out with a bunch of family the other day, and I was trying to tell them what I was doing, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I had this video go viral the other day," and they're like, they could care less, except like the nephews, they loved it because they're like, "Oh, you're like a celebrity." I'm like, "No, I'm not," but like everybody else will just like put you right back in your place, and it allows me to stay humble, which is nice. And not that I'm very arrogant anyways, but it just cracks me up when you walk in and they're like, cool, you got to go pick up the dog, the dog stuff out in the yard. And I'm like, okay, yeah, and like all that good stuff. So
you almost remind me your sense of humor and your cadence and the way just a little bit. Stingray in Cobra Kai. He's a great actor. He's actually done dramatic roles. He was like that Tanya Harding movie. I Heart Tanya or something. He's a great actor.
who is it? So somebody keeps calling me Stingray on social media, and I have no
Yeah,
idea what it
that's right.
means. But that
Okay.
is that what it is? Okay.
He's a great actor. He's been in a Clint Eastwood movie. God, I just forgot his name. I usually know, but anyways, yeah, in Cobra Kai, he plays a character in Stingray, and he's the comic relief, so to speak. He's heavy set, but he's got heart, and he shows vulnerabilities, but he's always funny, and he's just got a unique, personality, and that's and he's done that. The actor's done that by once again finding his true voice and bringing it through the characters that he plays, and that's kind of like what you've done, and it's a wonderful skill. It's a wonderful data set of information of human nature. That's why I look at, when somebody does what you've done on social, it's like, wow, this is really, this is human nature. This is what people, you're speaking to people, and there's the proof of like of the reaction of it, and I think that's, and they like him, then that's, so yeah, you haven't seen Cobra Kai. You guys see Cobra Kai. It's a great show.
I have. It's been like the new season just came out. I'll have to watch that and catch up on Stingray. But you finally like connected that dot for me where this guy just keeps calling me Stingray. I had no idea what it meant, but
Yes.
now I'm gonna figure it out.
That's right. That's what it is. And that you've seen all the Karate Kid movies, right?
Oh yeah.
And then
I've seen all this scenes of Cobra Kai. I can't remember who Stingray is right now.
yeah, he's the heavy set guy who's like, he's wants to be a part of the pack, and they don't let him in, so much. And
Oh, I know him now. Yeah, I know what you're
yeah,
talking about. Yeah, but hey, it's just all of us hefty folk. We just stick together. We stay funny.
you do. Where are you at today now? Like, what's going on with you topically with like, what are you planning, right now this week and, in your life and so plan for your social and all that?
Yeah, I just keep doing it. I'm doing a few more like collaborations lately with other creators that I know that I've met through all this, and it's been great. I'm still, again, the website's still my passion. I do a ton of product reviews on the website and try to get there. I, I'm learning that like the more followers you have, like the more people like actually care about what you say. So I'm trying to keep it a little bit more more entertaining and maybe not throw up all the garbage anymore and try to do a little bit better job. But people love me for the garbage in the beginning, so I'll keep going with that too.
Right.
But yeah, just trying to hike as much as I can and get out there and just enjoy nature and try to keep people entertained.
What's the long-term play? You think about like, what's the big picture, 5, 10, 15-year plan? Like what's the big picture for this? Do you have one?
Well, the best part would be if I've gotten like 1,000 people out onto the trail. That would make me the happiest in 10 years. If like people, because I get emails once a month of people are like, you know what, I never hiked, but because of you, I went out there and I fell in love with it. So that would be the number one goal. I would love to do this more on like a full-time basis where I can go out there and help people and inspire people, like because people say I inspire them for some reason. But that would be the main goal. Super rich and retire. Obviously, that's an important factor into all of it. But yeah, really, it's just keep enjoying it because I've never been happier than I have been in like the last 4 years because I started hiking. So the more people that I can convince that that's a good thing, then that's going to keep everyone happy.
All right, let's do top 5. What are
I'm there.
the top 5 biggest mistakes people do when they're hiking on the trail?
I think the number one thing is they'll start on a trail that's way too hard for them. And I'm doing it just kind of as a startup thing. So the number one thing is people will be like, oh, well, I see people, I live in Denver, so people come out here all the time and they're just here on like a weekend. And they're like, I'm going to go do a 14er because I've seen that on social media. And they'll be like in jeans and a t-shirt trying to climb a 14er. And like, people die up there, type of thing. So that would be number one. Number two would definitely be having a speaker and playing music really loud and annoying everybody else that's around them, because it's cool if you want music, just keep it to yourself. That's a good one. Number three mistake, I would say they don't show up prepared, water, food. It gets really hot and dry out in Colorado mountains, and people don't realize that. They're like, oh, it's the mountains, it's cool. So they'll come out without water, and that'll get them in trouble. Number four is probably, gosh, this is hard. Number four is probably not enough snacks, because like there's no point in hiking if you don't have snacks. I mean, it's a snacking hobby more than anything else. The hiking gets in the way of it. So snacks are important. And number five is not following me on social media. How about that?
Ah, nice. Yeah, there you go. You always be closing.
Mm-hmm.
What about as we come to a closer, what about snakes and predators and things that you ever run into that kind of stuff? What about that?
Yeah, I've run into snakes. The one I've run into the most out here are moose. Moose are terrifying in how big they are. It's one of those animals that I came out and I was like, I can't wait to see a moose. I can't wait to see a moose. And then I saw my first moose and I'm like, I never want to see a moose again, because I always run into them like in the worst, like we're on an incline and they're standing at the top of a hill and we're like 100 feet away from each other when you come around a corner, like terrifying, because they hurt more people in Colorado than anything else. I've heard the mountain lions like stalking me, like where you hear like twigs break behind you and then you turn and nothing's there, and then you walk and you hear it again. But I haven't really seen one. Bears are not out here. They're mostly black bears, so they're not as scary as people say. But you still don't want to run into a bear. Snakes make me jump and scream like a little girl, because I'm like they're terrible. Like I don't like snakes. I think snakes are bad. So the nope ropes get me every time.
No bros?
The nope ropes. Yeah, the danger noodle, nope rope. Those are
What's that?
It's a snake. You see it, and you're like, nope, nope, nope.
What kind of snake is like a no bro? No bro.
Oh no, nope rope.
Nope
So
rope.
like instead of a jump rope, it's a nope rope.
Oh, okay.
You stay away from it. You don't want your dog to go play with it.
Most of the snakes in these are rattlesnakes you're finding, right?
That's the one we run into. Yeah, that's dangerous. There's rat snakes out here and stuff like that aren't as bad, but
those are the good snakes that kill the bad ones, don't they? Or kill the
exactly.
supply.
But they get really big. Those are the ones we don't want to.
Well,
you don't want to see them, but
it's funny you should mention rat snake, because just today, this guy that's working on our property here, I'm going to put this in the screen. I don't know if you could see that, but that right there is see how big that is? The guy that's working on my property right now just sent me this picture about 20 minutes ago. And this is for the people who can't see the video. I'd say this thing has got to be, what do you think, that's about 7 feet?
I was going to say that's probably about 8 foot. Yeah. That's a legit, and it's probably about an inch around too, like that.
Yeah, he's thick. And if you notice, he's on barbed wire.
Yeah.
And good luck on, I used to think, well, they're not going to go on sharp surfaces or gravel. They don't care.
They don't care. They climb trees. They don't care. They swim. They don't care.
Yeah.
They're terrifying. But nothing scarier than a moose. I will say that. And please, if you come out to Colorado, please don't try to pet the moose. Don't take a selfie with the moose. Moose are very angry all the time.
Well, I heard moose. I mean, there's a maybe it's an urban myth, but there's people that said moose are so big. Like back east, somebody said there's a story about a couple that was driving a car and drove under a moose. That's how big moose can get. I mean, I heard they're massive.
I believe it. I've seen a video of one, I think it was in Rocky Mountain National Park, who just leaned down with its little antler and it picked up an SUV from the quarter panel, because like they're just huge. They're about twice the size of they're tall. They have really skinny legs, but they're probably about twice as tall as like a Ford Explorer or something like that. Just massive animals.
Bet you've seen a lot of in your travels now, and you've met a lot of people and you've seen a lot of things, haven't you?
I have, and it's great. One of the other things I do is I always find a locally owned restaurant by each trailhead. And that's what I do on my website, is I promote those. Because if you're going to go out into the woods and recreate in a small town, you should just go and support the economy as well, is my thought. And I've met the best people in the world just sitting at, like, if it says diner, grandma, or cafe, I always go to it in the small towns. And I go into a small town diner and just meet some of the greatest people you've ever met in your life. And it's amazing. And then on the trails, you meet amazing people as well. So it's been a lot of fun.
You seem like one of those great people too. Greg Sakowicz, tell everybody how they could find out more about you.
Yeah, check out my website at fatmanlittletrail.com. And then I'm on all the social medias and Fatman Little Trail. There's a lot of fake Fatman Little Trails out there now. So make sure on Instagram, check the blue check mark. TikTok, a bunch of fakes are out there. And currently, I just signed up for Cameo. So soon you'll be able to get videos of me wishing you happy birthday if you're so inclined.
That's cool. Hey, Greg, thank you so much for sharing. I love your story. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Gear up for your next adventure and head over to bolotour.com to check out the amazing Bolo Pack and their other innovative outdoor gear. Catch you next time.